Special thanks to Live Nation for all the support and sponsoring the episodes.
Hi, welcome to Stub Stories. I'm Sylvia. I'm that friend that gets you into shows, yet you don't know what I do for a living.
And I'm Ricky. I'm the friend that's begging you to come to shows with me for bands you've probably never heard of. Today on the show, we have Kassie Epstein and Jess Enos.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome.
Did I say the name correct? As I was saying it, I was like, oh my God, I forgot which one I was supposed to say.
You're
I
two
said it
for
correctly.
two. You're good.
Cool.
Nailed
We're
it. Nailed it.
Nice.
So thanks for being on. And I think we're going to start with, tell us what your roles are at Gillette Stadium.
Perfect. So Jess and I both work in business development and external affairs for Kraft Sports and Entertainment, which is a bit of a mouthful. So I'm the manager of the department. Jess is the director. We've worked together for, I think, 16 years now. 16?
Wow.
And we haven't killed each other yet, so it's going pretty well. Yeah. So our department kind of manages a bunch of different things. I think for the purpose of this conversation, we basically oversee all kind of full stadium events that don't fall under, Patriots football, Revolution soccer, NCAA sports. So it's, our concert season. We have motorsports and a whole host of kind of other things. But we're the department that kind of promotes, manages, kind of handles everything from the music side.
You bring the fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I guess we could start with, I guess at the beginning is how did you get into the industry? How did you end up at Gillette? Each of you, 16 years, you must have been in high school because you're not that old.
Jess, do you want to start because you got in before me?
Yeah, so I'm coming up on 20, which is horrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was very accidental. So went to UMass Amherst and got a degree in marketing and a degree in sports management, and grew up in Massachusetts, grew up loving the Patriots, wanted to go work for the franchise, and the only job that was available when I graduated was doing part-time reception work in the morning and then part-time marketing work in the afternoon. And so I took the job. I would have taken any job just to get my foot in the door, and ended up working out really well. So within a couple of months, I was hired into a role in the business development department that I quite honestly was grossly underqualified for and had no business getting, but just got in the door and worked incredibly hard. And one of the real upsides, or one of the benefits of working for the Kraft family and working for the company, is that there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of latitude. And so every role that I've held since I started has been a role that's been created for me, one that didn't exist before. And so I've been able to, while I initially, was much more interested in the sports side of things, I got the exposure to the entertainment industry and really never looked back. So absolutely loved it. And as the industry has shifted, as it's grown, I've been able to grow along with our department, grow the business within the stadium. And 19, almost 20 years later, here I am.
Yeah, that's so rare in this business. You know that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But it's amazing to also know that you kind of created the role. So whoever, when you move on, you've put this, whatever standards are in place or procedures or whatever in that role. You're the one who did it, because I've done that too, where it's how do you know all this? I'm I made it up. I don't know. And you just kind of go with it. And
yeah, exactly.
I've had that imposter syndrome, and you're people you're so smart. And I'm well, I just kind of made it up and it worked. And sometimes it didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You said it with your chest, and look, we're all here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and my journey was also very odd. I was in school at Boston College for psychology and theology, so really
Perfect.
not thinking about this. And there wasn't even a sports business school at BC, so that wasn't even on my radar as an industry that I could get into. I just never thought that, I loved sports, I loved music growing up, but never thought that was actually that was an opportunity. And then my best friend had gotten an internship with Patriots marketing our sophomore, junior year. And I was oh, that sounds so interesting. I never even thought that was something that I could do. And then luckily through her, got an internship in marketing, and then just worked my ass off and wanted to intern for another semester. You typically only do one. I had asked my boss if I could do two. And he was like, sure, but there's actually this opening in this other department, business development. My friend Jess is hiring her first intern. Like, I think you should look at it. And I was like, I don't want to. I just want to do marketing. And luckily, he pushed me to interview for it. And then I met Jess. And then I was the intern for this department for the summer before my senior year of college. And then worked part-time through the rest of my senior year doing like Patriot game days, just helping out different departments. And then on graduation started working here. And then in the same way as Jess said, you know, it was basically this team that Jess started of just roles that didn't exist before. And so like a few years into working here, kind of was watching the blow up of social media and how big that was becoming. And, you know, all of our marketing for our shows had just been traditional media of, you know, print, TV, radio, and realizing that, you know, it might be helpful for us to have a Facebook page or an Instagram page. Kind of was a side project and then became this like massive piece now of the business and of the industry. And so that's become a big part of my role. But certainly like Jess, you know, growing with our business, you know, when I started, I think my first summer we had 3 concerts or 4, and that felt like a really robust concert season. And now it's like 10, 11, 12 concerts a season, which is, it's just the stadium shows have really blown up. So that's been kind of fun to be on the journey. For now, I mean, Jess is almost 20 years. I'm almost 17 years. It's crazy.
Do you remember what those 3 shows were?
Oh, yeah. It was Kenny Chesney. And then I think it was
Oh, that's
2
cool.
Jimmy Buffetts with Toots and the Maytals were
Wow.
opening. Like, it was literally like my first stadium concerts. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever been a part of. I will never forget those.
Okay. My first Gillette show, my first inside Gillette show, because I went to the Warped Tour thing they did in
Yep.
2004.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my show.
Was okay, yeah.
Oh, no
Actually,
way.
you might have even actually got me into that. Now that I think about
Yeah.
it,
That's when I met Tom Brady and I didn't know who he was. That's great.
That's amazing. My first inside
Sports.
Gillette show was Kenny Chesney, but I think it was 2006 that
Sure.
summer.
Well, Jess was there.
Yeah.
Nice.
And in 2005, if it was 2005, I was there, part of the grassroots marketing team, hawking credit cards. Talk about
Oh.
something that you don't do anymore.
Yeah.
That's
I've got
so
I
that
got some
Gillette
blankets.
Stadium Warped Tour show. They were giving out like they kind of looked like credential badges, but they were ringtones that you could buy.
Oh
And
my
I remember, like,
gosh.
We took that. We like got like I think I still have them actually somewhere. It's like Singular Wireless or whatever. And we stretched out
Or
the
Vice
lanyards
Stream.
and used them to walk backstage. And then we were just like, "Wow, cool, we made it!" And then we went back out to see the bands because we didn't know what to do. But
Or just the thrill of
It was
getting back there. And then you were like, wait, this is kind of lame back here. There's nothing going on.
yeah, and it's like, oh, cool. Hey guys, see ya.
Can't hear
Yeah.
anything very well.
No.
I'm just going to go back.
No.
What is this?
Yeah, and like I was like 15, so I was also like, I clearly don't belong back here. I just wanted to like be able to tell my friends we made it, and then now I've been back there a million times, and I'm like, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's pretty boring.
Nothing happens. I don't.
Yeah. My first Gillette show was Metallica. Back the first one I was still working for Mass Concerts, and it was a co-pro with forget who it was, but I just remember it because, well, it was Metallica at Gillette, and I'd never been to Gillette before then. And they had a photo pass that's actually on my wall. It's like this size for photographers, so they could spot them in the crowd and give them the finger. And that's the best photo pass I've ever seen a band have, because it's like probably 5 times the size of a regular pass. So you could see it from the stage. So that's, that was like, oh my God, I made it. I'm at Gillette. And no, I did not make it, but it was fun. And then we had done the Warped Tour outside in the parking lot. And that was another great time, because I think it was like the anniversary shows, Ricky, wasn't it? Like the
Yeah, 10 year.
10th or 10 year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Yeah. And then obviously moving on to the Live Nation side of things and getting to do the promotions and things like that after that. But yeah, it's always been cool. And, and even obviously the football games and going in the snow and with your family, it's like, we always talk about everything's like, as you get older, it's like these memories. And it's like Gillette's been a big part of my memories with my family, or even my friends, and then even work, of course. But so, I mean, asking you is, what do you think makes Gillette stand out, for fans? Like, like experience wise. I mean, I know I have my thoughts on it, but from your side, like, obviously with the GS social suite, you've done stuff for influencers and things like that. But I mean, fan wise, from that side?
I think there's a bunch of reasons why. I think there's a lot of things that set us apart. But just the biggest, the most obvious one, I think, is just the sheer volume of people that you're sharing the experience with when you come to Gillette Stadium. And sports, entertainment, music specifically, is such like a community experience. It's so intimate and personal who you choose to listen to and how you choose to listen. But then when you are taking the effort to track down a concert ticket, make your way into the building, do all the planning and to actually get there, and then to experience music in that community setting, in that live setting, and to do it with 40, 50, 60,000 other people who you share that common thread with, other thread being the artist, I think is just, it's not something you can put into words. It's not something that you can describe. It is just a feeling. And I think, I always say, and Cass and I will laugh about it, like, we work incredibly hard, and most people do. But at the end of the day, like, our big projects are our concerts. And so at the end of the day, like, we don't submit a spreadsheet and then wait for feedback from a boss. Like, the feedback is those tens of thousands of people that are in the building, that are having a good time, that have had a good experience, that are in their seats, have gotten here safely, and are just screaming at the top of their lungs. And that energy and that feedback is just incredible. And it's such we're so fortunate to have the jobs we have. It really is a blessing. It's incredibly cool. But I would just say the first thing, the most obvious thing that sets us apart is just the way in which you can experience the thing that you love with so many people who share that same appreciation.
Yeah, and I think too, we've been lucky to foster some really great relationships with artists that have come to our building year after year after year after year. And so these fans get to be a part of something that has been going on for a very long time. Like, this was our 13th Taylor Swift concert. So we have fans that have been coming since 2010 when she first came here, and to have those memories of like, I was here in 2010, I was here in 2011, I was here, like kind of going through that history with an artist and really feeling like this building, this artist has a history. I'm a part of it. Like Kenny Chesney's been here, 24 times. Like, it's just
so crazy.
this crazy, dynamic that we have. And so, we're so lucky to have that and to build that with these artists that have these unbelievable fan bases. And New England has really passionate fans. I mean, these are the fans that are out there in the winter time, like watching in the 300 level, watching football games. And so to have that same kind of energy channeled in a different way for these concerts is really fun. But yeah, I think also to Jess's point, like, I think stadium concerts tend to be like, you're not just kind of like buying a ticket on a Wednesday and then hopping downtown and going to a small arena and like, oh, this just kind of popped up. Like, there really is planning that goes into this. And a lot of the times people buy tickets a full year in advance, maybe even more. You're building it out with your friends. You're making a whole plan. So the anticipation grows for a very long time. And so by the time concert day is here, like, the fans have been thinking about this concert for months or years. And so I think, like you both said, of there's these memories that I think people have in New England with this building and how important it is, and that we get to be a part of that. And there's such an immense responsibility that comes with that as well, that people have spent their hard-earned money on this and have waited so long for this, that you really want to make sure that they're getting the best experience that they can, because it is something that only comes around every, few years. Like, to see an artist that you love at a stadium, it's not an every year type of a thing. So it's so incredible to be a part of it in whatever small way we are, but it's also, there's a tremendous amount of responsibility, I think, that comes with that.
Yeah. It's interesting you saying, seeing, Kenny Chesney's been 24 times and Taylor Swift 13 or whatever, or 14. I was thinking about it, like, while you're talking about, I've seen, probably hundreds of concerts, and thinking about venues, there's like the Palladium, which I went to a million times as a kid. And then there's Gillette Stadium. And for those to be such, completely different rooms, but the memory, like my core memories of shows, like with family members and like friends that I, kind of lost touch with, like a lot more of those happened at Gillette, which is really crazy. And it's all different types, Green Day and Bruce Springsteen, and seeing Kenny Chesney a million times, like taking my mom to see Kenny Chesney. And like my wife and I, our first concert we went to was Reputation Tour Taylor Swift. So it's like there's all these key moments in my life that happened in that room that have nothing to do with football. And it's just so cool. Or like your social on the flip side of that, like I always love getting ready to go to a show, and you guys put up it's as simple as like, what you can't bring and what you can bring and what time the gates open. And instead of everybody being like, hey, what time should we be there? You just share that post, and it kind of, I don't know, it just makes for a better experience planning wise, which makes for a better experience like parking lot wise and into the show. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's cool. It's weird. I've never really heard of a venue or of a stadium that's able to kind of like make it feel like a club, in a way, and bring the audience that much closer. And like you're saying, like Kenny Chesney coming to Boston or to Gillette is so different from Kenny Chesney playing anywhere else, because he's playing different songs. There's a history there. Kind of the same thing with like Taylor Swift. Like it just feels like a moment instead of like another stadium date. It's cool.
Well, Gillette was the birth of No Shoes Nation. So hello, yes, it is special. I found that out when I went to the Kenny Chesney show this year. So the other thing too is like, I know, even we talked about the fan side, but the artist side, how comfortable that they feel with you. I experienced that firsthand when we were at Boston Calling, and Kassie was like she was all dressed up, and I was like, we're going to this thing, and so she's like, I didn't know what to wear because like now Ed Sheeran, it's not, obviously Boston Calling wasn't Kassie's show, but but Ed Sheeran's people felt comfortable reaching out and being like, hey, there's going to be an introduction between, was it the mayor or the governor?
Yeah,
and you had to set that all up.
Yeah, just, being there to help make sure everything goes well.
Yeah. She's, so that's the thing. It's like they feel comfortable with you. So that's that connection. And he's been there several times. I know my little smart car when I was at Live Nation was wrapped with Ed's face, and we put some Patriots players in there.
Yeah,
Like,
we have Garrett Blunt in the car. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, I'm not going to fit in there. I was like, yeah, you're going to fit in there. Get inside. And he was just like, oh, I fit.
Oh, yeah. Those are some fun grassroots marketing that we'll do anything and everything.
Yeah. Like, you're always up for it. That's the thing. Like, I know we've also touched on the GS Social Suite. Like, that's something that I haven't seen anywhere else. And like some of my favorite, I hate that word influencers, but like I love following their Instagram accounts, like your Ian Brownhill or your Bry Guy Ferreira. And I think you should have Nikki Marie in there at some point. And that STFU girl, like I can't get enough of them.
Yeah.
And you do that differently, and you put out this spread, and it's so welcoming, and it's like that nice POV like content that you see, and it works, and it's so great. And can I just say, I have my passes on the wall, but I've started a parking pass one, because that's my favorite now. It's like I don't care where I am,
as long as it's parking.
It's like if there's parking, I'm there. So like I have all my Gillette Stadium parking passes like hung up with my thing, because to me that's cool.
Yeah, I'm like, what's the parking situation? Yeah. What's the bathroom situation?
Yeah,
and do I have a seat or am I standing? Like that's what I need to know before I go somewhere.
Yep. Those are the things. Those are the checklist items before you actually sign on. I think we're definitely aging ourselves. But that is what you are. Those are the priorities these days.
Like what? Am I in lot 5? I'm there. I'm so there.
Yeah. And it's so funny, Sylvia, like you named a few influencers, and for us it's always been, when we started this, it was like we wanted hyper local influencers, right? Like we wanted people that like New Englanders follow, understand, are speaking the same language, are from here. It didn't help us to have like influencers with 10 million followers from LA. Like that wouldn't speak to our fans or this region or the history of Gillette. And it's been so cool to see it develop, because a lot of the influencers that we invite have now been to a ton of shows. They're passionate fans of the team. They're passionate fans of our concerts. And so just to kind of partner with them to, I think, bring content through the eyes of like genuine fans. Like, they're not here with like some like big paid sponsorship just trying to like hawk you something. Like,
No,
they're a genuine fan. They
no.
want to be there. And so you get to kind of see our events through their eyes, which is been a really cool experience to develop.
Yeah, and they're funny when sometimes one will be posting and you see another one behind them in the suite, and you're like, "You guys are funny," and it's just you relive it during, but then also
Mhm.
after, and they all have different points of view on it. So,
Yeah.
like, what one person and the other one's like, kicking his backpack or something, and it's like,
It's so
that's Fry
interesting.
Guy.
Like, we don't tell them what to post. Like, they know their
Yeah,
audience best, and they have their own different ways of, reaching out to their followers, whether it's like comedic skits or just kind of showing a day in the life or a get ready with me. Like, we don't tell them what to do because they know their content
yep,
best. And it's so
yep,
interesting to see like this one event through the filters of like 20 different people of how they
yeah.
kind of produce that and put it back into the world is really cool.
hmm And this year was the centennial, so
Mhm.
like right of like
Yes.
100 shows. Like, how is
100
that
shows.
possible that there's 100 shows in like 21 years? So like Gillette can drink, right? So so wow, it's a lot. It's a lot of shows.
Yeah.
And I see what we have 5 so far this year. I'm not going to push you
Yeah.
on who else, but I know there has to be a few more. At some point, we'll
Hopefully,
cut
yes.
that out.
Yep. That's the plan, at least for now. But yeah, it's
Great.
incredible. And like Kassie had said earlier, 15 years ago, if we had like a 4-show summer, it was like, wow, okay, this is a lot. This is busy. And now anything less than 10 is kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just the way the industry has shifted, and also the way the industry has come back post pandemic has really
Mhm.
been encouraging to experience, seeing how people are really just craving that connection and craving that live entertainment experience and the camaraderie that comes with it. And so now it's just been this unbelievable sort of like trajectory of a couple of shows here and there throughout the beginnings of our career, and then now having shows where it's or having summers where it's common to have you should be in the double digits every summer.
And it's concerts for us like starting in May and then like going through September. It's not like that like
Mhm.
June, July, August kind of summer window. Like, it really is. We're stretching our limits
Right.
on when we can be hosting them, which is
Weather.
exciting.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I was thinking when you were saying 10, like it's 10 shows, but it's also 10 shows in a very specific window. Like, you can't have anything happening in January and February and stuff like that. Have you noticed any type of shift with like a Boston Calling type of festival coming onto the scene? Because I know that that's like relatively new. And does that like change anything in terms of Gillette booking wise?
It's tricky because we are such a big building. There are so few artists, when you really think about it, that can fill the space and can make a Gillette Stadium show a profitable endeavor, right? Like, it's crazy to think, but if you come into the building and you sell 25,000 tickets, it's not going to look good. 25,000 tickets is incredible, right? Like, that's a mind-blowing
Mhm.
amount of people, but you still need to fill that space in order to make it look like a success. And so there are so few artists that can come into the building and that can fill it, and that it can create that fully built out concert experience, that you would think that like a Boston Calling, for example, where you're talking about similar attendance numbers, would negatively impact our business. We've found that it hasn't really, but you are talking about the same artists. So like, to Sylvia's earlier point, like, you're talking about Ed Sheeran, who has played Gillette Stadium multiple times. There's a lot of artists, there's a lot of crossover there, but overall, Boston Calling specifically, but even just live in the festival sort of scene, has just contributed to a growing interest in these large scale live music events. And so it's kind of like almost more of like an all boats are sort of rising with the tide kind of scenario.
That's cool. Do we have some favorite shows that, as a fan, you're like, I can't believe this is happening right now?
Oh, so many,
So
I
many.
feel like.
I was thinking about this last night because I was like, I think for me, it comes down to like, there's kind of two different buckets. Like, I love a show that uses like the full stadium in the way that you can in no other venue. So it's like the confetti, the pyro, the massive stage, the light up wristbands, like giant balls bouncing around. Like, I love when a tour does those types of things. So it's like Taylor Swift, Coldplay, Metallica has really cool stage build. Beyonce had that. But I think like for me, like on like a personal level, like I grew up with like older rock and roll music, like what my dad listened to. So it was like Bruce Springsteen and Creedence Clearwater Revival. And I was literally thinking about this last night that there was a show, I think it was like 2016, where Springsteen ended his show singing a Creedence Clearwater Revival song. And I was like, this is like...
He also started his show in 2007 with a Creedence song. So I don't know what it is about Gillette and Creedence and Springsteen, but it all makes sense.
So that I think moment for me was like, oh my God, and like before I worked here, I'd never been to a stadium concert before. Like it had never crossed my mind that was something that I wanted to do. Like I loved going to like the Paradise and like smaller venues in the city when I was in college. But yeah, kind of standing there and being like, oh my God, this is like this guy I used to listen to, this epic rocker singing a song from a band that's like my favorite band of all time. Like everything kind of came together. So I think that's like my favorite moment. But I do love shows that really use, like you're in a stadium, you can do a lot of things in a stadium that you can't do in a smaller venue. And so I love when those things kind of come together.
Yeah. What about you, Jess?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think like recently we had, it is a lot of like the nostalgic music for me too, that I know I grew up with, that my parents listened to. Seeing Stevie Nicks last year, I remember I made sure that I got some of her set in, and then seeing her singing that line to me, being like, I'm crying. There's tears on my cheeks. I'm crying. It's just like coming down out of my eyeballs are leaking. I am crying. This is amazing. But then also I really love seeing artists that I'm not familiar or I'm unfamiliar with, or I haven't really listened to a lot of personally. And like, so one of the acts that stands out for me is Rammstein.
You
love that
Rammstein.
Show?
Pyro. Was there pyro? Must have been pyro.
Pyro on pyro on pyro. Everything about that show was just like absolutely mesmerizing to me. And did not really know the discography going into it. But just so incredibly cool. And again, to Cassie's point, just like the level of production that they're putting out and performance that they're creating for their fans was just absolutely spectacular. And then also recently, Carol G, having her come into the building, and like, that was amazing. Again, an artist that I was, knew of, but did not know a lot about prior to her booking. And then just coming into the building and it being this really spectacular experience for us from start to finish, and incredibly interesting. And then they leave and you've got this new appreciation for an artist that you really didn't know a ton about, but it's like genuinely transformative. It's so cool.
Yeah, Kassie made me a Swiftie. Just because I was like, she invited me to Taylor Swift, and I was like, oh God, like it's not even about Taylor. It's just like, those fans probably going to annoy me or something because they're children, but they're not. And so I went and I was like,
I'm there. I'm not a child.
Well, you are a child, but
that's right.
And you have a child. But
Fair.
Being there was probably one of the best concerts experience I've ever had in my life, period. Because first of all, it feels like the stadium's going to fall because it's shaking. Like from those people, I've never felt that even at a game, like just feeling that. And obviously she's amazing, period. And but then everybody was so nice that I'm like, usually my dark self, I was just like, I was hugging, I was like being nice to people. I was like, what is going on? Like, and I'm crying. I'm like, who am I? I'm like, bracelets are being shared.
I
blame you, Kassie.
Jess knows I love the Swifties so much. They're like so kind. They're so passionate.
I love them too.
They want to know like the rules. Like they're so good. Like they want to know all the regulations before they get on property, which also I love. So it's just like they're a fan base that is passionate, but they're also respectful. Like they're all like want to have fun with everyone. They want everyone to have a good time. They're not trying to break any rules. They're the best.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great. And then I got invited to go to Carol G, and I was like, "Who is this?" And Fabio and I went with our friend Amelia, and I was like, "I don't know who she is." And I was like, "How can she have sold this out? I don't understand. Where have I been? Obviously not listening to music at all." And I get in there, and I was just like, "Wow!"
Yeah.
Like, and then I became a fan. And I'm like, usually, like when I think of the discovering an artist, it's usually at the smaller club level, and I'm take pride in it. Like, Chapel Row, and I'm like, I saw her when she was at the Sinclair, so like I was in on that. And then you're like, oh no, you can discover it at any level. Even Megan Maroney, who opened for Kenny Chesney, like selling out like 2 shows at Roadrunner. Now every one person in my family is like, we want to go to Megan Maroney. I was like, it's sold out, and so I have to call my friends at Roadrunner. So it's discovering new things, and I blame you guys.
Yeah.
So
You're welcome.
Making me learn new things.
That's us, just breaking emerging artists at Gillette Stadium. And so we do.
Well, it's true.
Those small artists that no one's ever heard of, for sure.
So on the flip side of like an emerging artist, the first time I saw Kenny Chesney, Dierks Bentley opened, and he used to do this like bluegrass kind of thing in the middle of his set. And that year they were playing a Buck Owens song, and I was like 19, I think, and did not know who Buck Owens was, and went back and like fell in love with this like super old school country guy through an opening act at a stadium show. And it kind of, I don't know, forever I've like loved Buck Owens now because of that. So instead of it being like an up and coming artist, it's like, here's this super old guy who could never play a stadium. And I only know him because of that.
I love that.
Because of the stadium, yeah. That is really cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's also crazy that Kenny Chesney sold 1 million tickets, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Well, that was now years ago. I mean, so he's past that. There was a number this past summer.
5 years ago.
Yeah. He's now sold, it's like more tickets than the population of Vermont, I think. It was like the stat that we had from last year. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah. It's an experience. And one thing he says a lot, and it's so true, and we really carry this into sort of like just our general operating ethos for our shows, is that for a lot of people, a concert at Gillette Stadium is their vacation. And for a whole host of different reasons, the least of which is not money, it is for people. Sometimes this is their vacation. This is their cramming it all into this one day and this one experience. And that is on the shoulders of the performer to give them that experience. It's on us as a building to make sure that every other piece outside of the performance runs as well as possible so that people get the most out of it, because it's a really meaningful day for a lot of people a lot of the time.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my promoter friends, and he was saying, like, clubs this year have had, ticket sales have sort of been slumped a little bit, but he's like, I could double the cost of something at, a stadium, because people are saving their money and being very picky about what they see. And it's that, because it's a whole, like you said, like it's a day, they plan it out, the memories and things like that. So I'm like, oh my God, like it's true. Like I've looking around like all the big shows, and I'm like, yeah, my calendar is already filled with Gillette. Like when AC/DC went on sale, like I'll be in the pit. So it's like this whole thing of like, but it's like memories, because I grew up listening to AC/DC with my uncle. He passed away. We always talk about death on our on the podcast. Death always comes up at least once. And so like my uncle, passed away a few years ago. So this is like my concert for him. So that'll be the Gillette show. And that's like the first one of the season too. So I hope it's not cold. I'm a big baby when it's cold. So
it's so interesting too, though. I think like when we talk too about like, I think when people buy a stadium ticket and a stadium concert ticket now, it's not, I don't think a lot of fans think of it as just that one event. There's so much build up to it. And there's a lot of shows now that we see like fans watch it like a sports team with like live streams of other shows, and they follow along, or it's a Twitter feed that's like, oh, this artist played this song or they didn't play this. And like, so people follow it through the tour. So by the time it gets to your date, like you have been thinking about this and building up to it for months, because social media can bring that to you, or there's people that are there that are sharing photos of like, oh, Taylor had this new outfit. This is the song she played. So like people, I think a lot of tours now, because a lot of artists, I think very smartly do they do unique and specific things to each date, so people are paying attention to each one. It's not just the same set. And so you have people that are tracking it in a way that is similar to a sports team. So by the time it becomes event day, like, you have now spent hours and hours and hours envisioning this. It's not just the concert itself. Like, you've really been following this for a very long time. So that buildup really becomes a part of it.
Can we just talk about how I saw you on social media being entourage to a particular T Swift?
Oh, at the Chiefs camp?
Yes. That was amazing. I'm like, wait a minute. People are like, oh, that's who do they think you were?
Just like, I'm very tall. So usually people are like, who is that person? Because she's standing out, because she's like towering over everyone. But just trying to blend in.
That's not why, but
She gets a lot of I think that one was Blake. I'll say it because she won't. That one, I believe, was Blake Lively that she was pegged for. We get a lot, we collectively, because I'm part of it. Just kidding, I'm not. I'm, as I tower.
You're
at
entourage.
5'3". I am part of Cassie's entourage. Yes, she gets a lot of Erin Andrews during football season.
Football season for sure.
But, did get a lot of Giselle back in the day.
Ooh.
A lot of Giselle.
It's all shaded though, because like, I'm a person on a football game day who is wearing like high heels and a dress, so people are looking around, like, that stands out. So that's a big part of it.
Those are cool. I only get mistaken for either Seth Rogen or Chicken Little.
Yes.
So at least you have like cool people. Although Seth Rogen's the best, but Chicken Little's a fake cartoon. Like,
Oh no, but you
That's all I
kind of
ever
do
get.
with the hat today. You kind of do with the
Yeah.
glasses. You're
yeah,
Chicken
if
Little.
I'm
I
not
can't
wearing a
unsee
hat,
it.
my hair is like a little spikier, and like I legitimately, like, I have a stuffed Chicken Little thing back there that a friend bought me in high school. She was like, "This is you." And I was like, "Oh, it is. Yeah, that's true."
I love that.
So, congratulations on getting like Blake Lively, Aaron Andrews. Like, at least you have like real humans that are like cool.
Yeah, no, I'll take it. They're not cartoon animals, so I'm good.
No, it's a win.
Oh man. The other fact that I saw when I was trying to do our research to try to make this seem a little bit more professional than the usual episodes that we have was that Gillette was the first NFL stadium for both Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift. So that's really cool. That, yeah, I mean, I know that Taylor talks about it, and I think Ed talks about it too. But like, so you broke Taylor Swift like that. That's
Oh yeah, we can definitely take credit for Taylor Swift. No. Yeah, but no, it's been really cool. I mean, that first show was in 2010, and so you had said before, like, oh, the fans are children. Like, we still have a lot of staff that I think view the fan base in the way that they were in 2010, and those kids in 2010 are parents with kids that they're bringing to these shows. Like, it's really
we're
shifted.
not that
And I mean,
old. Stop.
Taylor has fans that are literally every age, so that, I mean, there's no demo there, but it really is to kind of witness a lot of these artists from like first NFL stadium show to where they are now is really cool.
That's cool. I remember going to that the first like Ed headlining one where Chris Martin from Coldplay came out, which blew my mind because I love like first record Coldplay and never saw them. And then all of a sudden he was like, my brother got us really good tickets. And he was like, the equivalent of like 4 rows in front of us. We were like, is that Chris Martin? It's awesome.
Yeah, he just popped out.
Do you have dream artists that you want to work with, or dream shows that you'd love to work at Gillette?
Jess, do you have any? I'm trying to think of what mine would be.
I do have a couple that I have to keep aside, unfortunately.
Because they're going to be announced this year, right?
Well, I would love to say it out, speak it into the universe and manifest it. I can't, but there are definitely a couple that are very much like rattling around that, sometimes it takes a very, very long time to bring an artist to the building. It can take, years of essentially following them around the country and trying to build the rapport and the relationship, especially if it's one that doesn't have a management team that with any crossover with any of sort of like our existing acts. For the longest time, Garth Brooks was one for us.
No.
That was an artist that we really, really, really wanted to work with, wanted to bring to the building. And it took literal years of flying around the country and taking meetings and forcing ourselves into meetings, and got to the point where at one point we were out at a show in another venue. It was with our boss, so the VP of our department, and we saw him again and we're chatting, and he was like, I keep seeing you guys everywhere. What building do you actually work for? Like excellent question, sir. I understand why you'd ask it. But yeah, so it's a lot of like building that rapport and that trust with an artist. And so it takes a very long time. But I do have a couple that I'll come back and I'll tell you once.
Okay.
Once
We'll have like a part 2.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think my only like my dream artist, I think it sounds like so like just like the lame answer is like just the old rockers, like the nostalgia of like who my parents loved, who like aren't doing stadium runs. So like I just need to see in like other venues, but like understanding that they won't be doing ours. But I mean, we're lucky. We get so many events here that I mean, genuinely, like once I see a show somewhere else, like it hopefully like and most of the time it does come to us, which has been really cool. So we've had the fortune of seeing a lot of really, really cool events.
Yes, I think we answered that wrong. I think the right answer was the next one, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like that's what we were
Right.
supposed to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edit that all out.
Yeah, we can do that
Yeah.
again. We could just we'll start from the top.
Don't need it.
That was a very Belichick answer.
Seriously,
On to the next.
I should have known better.
Mhm.
We should have known that with Catherine.
So we have 5 shows booked so far this year, and two Coldplay shows this year.
Which is
I mean, yeah. Well, by the time this airs, it's this year. So
Oh yeah, sure. And
sure.
you're not
Oh,
allowed to
yeah.
all the time.
yeah, and when like it's weird because I know how big Coldplay is, but then when it was 2 shows, I was like, really? Because like people like love to hate on them. They're kind of like, I'm not gonna call them the Nickelback, but it's like they like to hate on them. But then there's like I've seen their shows and it's so engaging. Like when Kassie was saying, like they make that full use of the stadium with the capabilities. So I don't know. People like to
You
hate
can
on
say
everything.
with Coldplay, like you can say you don't like their music. That's
Mhm.
fine. You can't come to a Coldplay show and say you didn't have a good time. You're a
Yep.
filthy liar because you can come to their shows and it's so immersive. It's so expertly produced. You don't need to love their music to love a Coldplay concert. And that's another one too that's so incredibly intergenerational. You will literally see 3 generations of families at those 2 Coldplay shows. It is so cool to see.
And Coldplay,
That's
the
awesome.
show too, I think was like the most, and it sounds so cheesy, but I'm like, that was the event that I've ever been to where it felt the most like, oh my God, like we are all interconnected. Like everyone is here, like love will heal, like genuinely feeling the things that like they are putting out into the world. And I think even for like a sporting event, like most people coming here are Pats fans, but you still get fans from the other team, or you get a mix of people who maybe aren't. For like these shows, like every single person in every single seat coming is here for that one reason and loving this one artist. And Coldplay, I think, just does it more than anyone else of like really embodying that, like we're all here together, like let's like put this good energy back out into the world when we leave this venue. And I'm standing there and I'm like, oh my God, the world is healing. Like this, like Coldplay's gonna do it. Like they're gonna do it, and it's happening here in Foxborough, and the world is gonna be healed because of this show. Like I am like so transformed from it. So I'm like, please come every week. We need it.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm like a crazy person.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was me.
well, I have a serious question
Mhm.
that it kind of bothers me every time, like I'm not in Boston. Does it bother you when the artist is like, "Thank you, Boston," and I'm like, "You're not in Boston. You're very, you're like 45 minutes away, but cool." I mean,
It bothers a lot of people. It doesn't bother me personally. I don't, because I understand
You
the
get it.
like, and like I went to school in Nashville for 1 year, and so when people would ask where I was from, I would just say I'm from Boston because like no one knows the
Same.
suburb that I'm from. So you just become like, I'm
Yeah.
from just outside Boston. I'm from Boston. So like for me, I'm
Yep.
like, I get it. Like it's just more of like the region, but people do feel very passionately about that. Like when we push out like in like a tour creative for like a show announcement or whatever, if it says Boston, like comments are like, it's not in Boston, 45 minutes away, like you're not in Boston, like where? And I'm like, okay, but like you get what we're saying.
Yep. Yep.
Does it bother you,
Exactly.
Jess?
It doesn't bother me at all, but I do know it hits people in the feels for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's polarizing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like being at a show and somebody will be like, Yankees suck. I'm like, you're not even at Fenway. Like, what is going on? But it's just a thing, right? So
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious. Like, the
he
FIFA
speaks.
World Cup is coming in 2026.
This is what you're going to bring up?
Well, no, because I'm bringing it up like because I'm
of
totally
your dad.
channeling. Yeah, because of my dad and my brother and all the other people in my life that like love soccer. Because if you people know, I am not into sports whatsoever.
You are Portuguese, though. So
yes, so I will be. How is that like? What's that like? What's the feel that some of the games are going to be taking place there? Like, is the excitement like? How did that all come about? I don't know. I'm just like really curious about that, because it's going to be like a really big thing coming up,
Talk about Boston versus Foxborough, and I am dying at like all of the social content that people are producing about the like international fans being like, yes, we're going to Boston. And we're like, whoa, where are we? You are not in Boston. Jeez. Mass confusion. It's,
that's going to be
is,
great.
It's going to be something. I too am Portuguese, so I get it.
yes,
I understand. Yes. Oh, yes. So it is very exciting. It's unlike anything I certainly have ever experienced. Working with FIFA is an entirely separate department within the organization that's doing all that interfacing. And it's an incredible task and tough to describe because it's so it's so foreign. We're wrapping our arms around it. So much of it too is out of our control for a whole host of reasons, but
sure.
It really is very much turning the building over to FIFA, and what that looks like. We're still figuring out. Like there's a lot
Ironing
of
it out.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of really significant infrastructure changes that need to happen as far as just site-wide, sort of expanding our footprint and understanding how to control the crowds, and understanding what the hospitality needs are, and then welcoming international guests on that scale. But also without knowing, right? Like we can't prepare now knowing like, okay, we're going to have these countries, these languages, like you kind of got to be prepared for all of it. And then to just the unbelievable demand for tickets is just,
so
for a long time.
For tickets, Fabio.
No, I am
You're on your own, buddy.
I'm definitely getting tickets for sure. I have to, for me, it's like, the Portuguese, the Italian, and of course the Americans, to see, who's there.
Yeah,
those are the games that I definitely want to go to.
It's funny, like Jess said, and this is kind of like the nerdy part of like the social media component, right? Of like when you have fans that are coming on property who have never been to your building before. I'm like, I feel like I say it all the time in any of our like internal meetings or externally of like football fans for the most part, like they know where they're parking, they know where their season tickets are, they know their favorite food, they know the gate that they're going into, like they have their rapport down of like how their day goes. When you have a concert, you might have fans who've been here before, but a lot of the time, these people have never been on property. They've never been to your building. And a stadium is a really large place and can be very intimidating of trying to figure out, like, where am I parking? Where am I going? And so, to what you had said, Ricky, like, we put a lot of time and effort in trying to make that information as easily digestible as possible and put it out in as many places as possible. Like, I would rather spend hours and hours and hours on the front end of a concert, like replying to every fan, replying to every email, every tweet, every, question, than them coming on site and not knowing where they're going. And so, trying to figure out, and it's also like a lot of community listening, right? Of like, what are the people asking about? Like, and I think for me also, like, for a long time, it was like, oh my God, these fans are asking about gate times. Like, we've told them, like, why aren't they listening? And it's like, well, it's not their fault. Like, clearly we're not putting it out in a way that they're getting it. Like, and maybe I thought that it was conveyed well online, but it's either not big enough, it's not on a site that they're visiting. Like, that's on us to put it out in a way that fans are digesting it. And so, like, let's tweak our strategy here. And is that, like, a lot more smaller, kind of like easily like downloadable graphics that we can push out on social. And so people can just screenshot, like you said, Ricky, of like, here is a stadium map, here are the gates, here's the timeline, like that you just screenshot and you save on your phone so that when the time comes, like you feel very confident that you know, or you have an idea of where you're going, how you're moving. And so for FIFA, it's like that times 1,000, right? Like with probably different languages in the mix of like, not only have you not been here, but have you even been to Boston? Have you been to the United States? Like, you know, there's all these just different levels of figuring out that communication strategy of what do people need to know? What's the best way to communicate it out to them, and trying to do as much as you can before event day. And so people aren't just wandering around with no idea. Like I even go to other venues. Like I was at Fenway like a few months ago and was like, oh, I'm kind of confused on like where the exit is. And it's like, yeah, I work in a stadium, but like if it's not your building, like it can be very overwhelming. So like as much as you can do ahead of time is what we're always trying to really hammer down. But for FIFA will be a lot.
I was at the Messi game. Yeah. When you guys had Messi. And if that's any indication, holy shit, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
So
and like
exciting.
I said too, it takes the building offline essentially, because you know we turn it over to FIFA, and so there's all of 2026 from at least from our perspective for our large scale events. You know, for the most part, right up through the month of July, we are offline. So you know we cannot book in. Like we already have 3 shows in May for 2025. So it's really condensing our window of opportunity, which is already incredibly condensed just
Small
because
as
of
it is,
weather and being an open air building. And so
You have a
we're
sports
gonna,
And football seasons and
sports
soccer
teams.
seasons.
Yeah.
we're gonna cram a lot of living into August and September, hopefully, of 2026 as a department.
So those tent cities out there are going to be a thing for real. People are going to be staying in Gillette parking lot for as long as possible to get in all that stuff.
You gotta leave. You gotta leave.
No, of course. No, I got it.
Okay.
One more question.
Oh,
This is just a
God.
general question. It came up early and it twixt me, and I'm just curious. Like, what is No Shoe Nation?
Oh, God.
Why are we not wearing shoes, people?
We
What?
gotta school
Seriously?
you on the Kenny Chesney.
He doesn't like
know.
that and
What
Crocs.
is
That's
it?
his big thing. He doesn't like Crocs either. So
Ugh.
don't talk about poor Posty and his Crocs.
Fabio, I'll make you a Kenny Chesney playlist, and then
Okay.
when you get like halfway through, I think the No Shoes Nation thing will make way more sense.
Okay, so this is like a thing for him.
He has a song called No Shoes, No Shirt, No Problem. That's a big song of his. And then he kind of turned that into...
I kind of disagree. I think there's quite a bit of a problem there.
And then
But,
turn that
some
into
establishments
the
don't
fan base.
allow that.
Place, right?
Fabio-
There's time in a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Fabi
wearing
used to be a
shoes at our
friend.
building.
Dunkin'. Yeah. Fabi used to own the franchise for Dunkin' Donuts. So
Yes, so we could
until
not.
he
You need to. You have to wear
retired to
shoes.
Florida. Yes.
Okay, sure. We're a little triggered by the no
Shoes.
shoes. Okay,
Shirts. Yeah.
got it.
Okay.
Fabio, my wife also is not a country fan and doesn't understand a single thing about like the Kenny Chesney world. But next time he tours, I'm going to take her and you so you can experience it.
I look
You have
forward to
to
that.
see
experience
that.
it once.
I know. Let us know when you're
We-
coming. We want to
We
be
all need to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I was gonna take my wife this past summer, but our daughter was born like 2 days before the shows, and
Uncle
so
John.
they got announced, and I was like, "We have to go." She didn't want anything to do with it, and then she's like a
I
couple
wonder
months
why.
later, we found out she was pregnant. So she was like, "Yes, now we can't go." I'm like, "Well, we could." Like,
we could.
Birth
no, you
at the
could
Kenny
not.
Chesney show. Literally a birth at No Shoes Nation.
Mm-hmm.
it would have been so
My
on
gosh.
That would be understandable. That baby could not be having shoes.
Yeah, aren't we all born with no shoes?
fair.
It's true.
That was
Oh,
it.
man.
That's all
That
I
was
had.
it. That's
I was
all you
curious.
got?
That's really curious.
That's it.
No shoe.
Okay.
Do you feel like you can wrap your mind around it a little bit more now, Fabio, though? Like it's
No.
No, I feel like he
No.
still hates it. No. Oh, no. He's
I'm waiting. I'm literally gonna. Only when I experience it with Ricky and his wife, like, will I hopefully have an understanding. Maybe.
Yeah,
But like to
we'll
be
get
clear,
you.
it's
We'll
not.
get you the pretzel.
It's not like the fans are all like taking off their shoes. It's just the name.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah.
like everyone's their shoes.
Oh,
Right.
could you imagine that? Literally, that's what I take. So I'm literally
it's the
thinking, I'm like,
summer.
are people ripping off their fucking shoes? Like, what is going on?
I'm not taking my shoes off. No, nobody wants me without shoes.
Yeah,
That's not a
please.
thing.
Keep
You don't
your
want
shoes
that.
on, people.
Shoes are are required.
Yeah.
Shirts and shoes
Yeah.
are required at
Yeah.
Gillette Stadium for all of our events. Leave that in.
That's going to be.
I'm gonna put
The-
the art up
Please.
there for that.
That's going to be
from
that.
the
That's going to
Gillette
be.
website.
You
Yeah.
know, when
That's
we
the
do
name of the
clip-
episode.
The episode title, yeah. Shirts and shoes are required.
Shoes and shirts required.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else besides the no shoes thing that Fabio just couldn't wrap his head around?
No,
It's a fan club, Fabio. Just think of it like a fan club. It's like it's at a community type thing.
It's like Lady Gaga's
But
Monsters.
don't take a-
You know, it's like
Yeah.
the name of like the fan base.
You
Yeah.
struck a chord. You struck a chord with Lady Gaga with him. There we go.
I love her. She
A
is
good
another-
chord or a
Oh,
bad
okay,
chord?
good. I was like, oh, it's like good. Okay.
No, no.
Okay.
Oh no! What string did I just pull? No, okay.
I'll chime in. We were talking earlier a little bit about some of your other programming at Gillette that's not sports and not concerts. Do you have anything interesting coming up, or like just let people know that you do have sort of events
Oh, yeah.
as
It's
all year round, right?
it's Jess's like national holiday called Monster Jam. I mean, it's her.
Yes.
That's her
yes.
Roman Empire. It's Monster Jam. It just yeah. She's
And you're
not lying.
Portuguese.
But
And
I mean,
you're
that was an
Portuguese,
event
Jess.
that we had never been to before it came here, and we were like, let's see what this is about. And then by the end of it, we were just like, oh my god, like they're flipping, they're
All in.
jumping.
It's
like,
so loud.
Yeah.
It's so
All
loud.
in. It is such a cool event, and we have now had it for 10. I think this
yeah,
will be our
yeah.
10th
It was
year.
2014. Was
Wow.
the
But yeah, so when we first
Wow.
sort of entered the conversation with Feld, which is the company that produces both Monster Jam
Yeah.
and Supercross, and then all of those cool like Disney on Ice events, and they have an incredible repertoire. But when we first started the conversation, our boss, the VP of our department, was like, "All right, we really have never done anything like this before. So can you kind of just go and get eyes on it in a couple different venues and start to understand what the operational lift will be to produce, this event or to have it come to the building?" And I, at the time, this was like probably 12, 13 years ago, did not have any children. I have one younger sister who did not grow up in or around motorsports really in any capacity, didn't know anything about Monster Jam. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. Like, I'll go figure it out. And now I am so all in on Monster Jam. It's not even funny. My daughter has all the trucks. Like, we go to the event.
Nice.
Like, it is such
That's
a
so cool.
event. It is. And it's the entertainment value there is just spectacular. Like, it
Oh, he's
borders
looking at it.
on like the kids, the families that come, the children that
That'll
come.
bang.
Like, it's huge. It is loud. It is. If you're going to go to that event, I will say, you want to come to it at Gillette Stadium. You want to be in an open air building. You want to have.
Yeah, I seen it in
Yes.
probably out in
DCU.
Worcester. Yeah.
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 It's-
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
when I was
The
little in
exhaust
Worcester.
alone.
But when I
Way too
grew up in the 80s, like Bigfoot was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. and I
Gravedigger.
love-
Oh,
I love
Gravedigger,
I
Son
love
of a
trucks.
Digger. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tigger.
it's got to be
I
it's
like
got to
that.
be way better outside like that. It's got to be.
It is. It is. And the way that Felds again like produces that
Mhm.
event is
Mhm.
spectacular. And it's interesting too because now we're in a pattern in which we're hosting Supercross and Monster Jam on back-to-back weekends. So we essentially move all of that dirt that's required for both of those events into the building once and then just reconfigure it to create the different tracks.
Makes sense.
And so Supercross is absolutely a sport. Like, it is, Supercross is a thoroughly regulated competitive series. Like, it is a sport. And then you have Monster Jam, which is just pure entertainment. And it's two totally separate events with completely separate fan bases over the course of this, 8-day span essentially. And it's really, really cool to see. It's like Supercross is more of like an NFL moment, and Monster Jam is like your WWE moment.
Nice.
Where do you keep the dirt?
On site. We
It's a
actually
genuine
keep
question.
it-
I'm like, I wouldn't think that you
That's
guys
the
would
question.
get
The
dirt.
amount of
Well,
detail that
you
goes
all
into the
all
dirt,
time.
Jess can talk for hours. It's not just any dirt. It's a whole thing.
Just when you said like we move it from outside to inside, I was like, it's the same dirt.
Mm.
Do they
the
get
same
new
dirt.
dirt?
Guys,
Does it
this
get
is a whole
like
nother
less?
podcast.
Yeah,
This
the
is a
whole
whole
nother
nother
podcast.
Yeah.
Dirt cats.
Fascinating.
Yeah, instead
So
of
it's
Stub
on
Stories,
site
it's
somewhere.
Fast Stories.
Okay.
Soil Stories.
Dirt
It is, yeah.
stories. Soil
So we do
stories.
all
It's literal.
both
Okay,
ways
I'm
now.
a Virgo.
Dirt stories. We store it.
Soil
It is on site.
source.
And believe it, dirt actually needs to be replaced. Like dirt gets old.
Yes.
Like, You
It
need
does.
to actually.
Fabio's a plant daddy.
Oh my God, Fabio!
No, it's true.
It's Fabio's
It loses
Portuguese.
its like elasticity and like
Yep.
substance.
This
my
is her love
God.
language. This is the love language.
Yeah.
Like
This is
concerts,
Connected.
sure.
awful.
Dirt of Monster Jam. Here's where she shines.
Yep. You need to introduce microorganisms.
Oh
You
my,
need
it
to-
is
you
so
need to
key.
till it. We hydro seed it from time to time and then
This is
flip it. Oh
amazing.
yeah.
You guys do
100%.
so much there at Gillette. Like, sleep.
Yeah, truly.
Now
And
we
like,
have new
We have
besties.
start having
Maybe.
bonus episodes on each one. It will be like, okay, the Gillette one. Then we talk. Then the bonus episode you can download on our
Patreon.
exclusive app.
On our
It's
Patreon
a
app.
half hour about.
Patreon. You
For
settled down back there.
$1.99 a month, you can have all access to all
It's
the
just
dirt.
me and Fabio
shits.
on lawn chairs on top
All
of
the-
the dirt pile.
all the
feeling the dirt, being like, need some more microorganisms. Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You need to add a little
Yes.
bit more yeast
I
here.
think I see a off
Some pot
like
seed.
a spin-off of this podcast that Jess and Fabio will be hosting. Just
Yes.
going
Dirt
around
stories.
going around talking about all the dirt in the different stadiums and locally, I guess. That
Fascinating.
sounds awful, but okay.
It just like hit something in me. I was like, wait a minute,
That's
Yeah.
where's
amazing.
this dirt going?
Those are our dirt
they're not,
leaks.
like-
Just a lot of dirt in the
Okay.
building. But Feld is like such a great group to work for. And like Jess said, like that production of the show, like especially Monster Jam, is like every single piece of it, they just fully understand the fan experience and like the announcers, like the in-event stuff that they're doing with the crowd, the giveaways. Like it's just so fun. And they truly, I feel like better than anyone else, like understand their fans and like really cater that show to them. And it's really cool
That's awesome.
to watch. And Jess as a fan. So we're all a part of it.
Yes. We're good.
The biggest fan.
Awesome.
That's great.
Thank you
Nice.
for answering my original question.
I know. Are there other events, Jess, that we can go over? I just said dirt events.
No,
Like, what?
no.
We had the Dalai Lama once. He came and spoke.
Wait, what? What? Really?
We have it here,
Fabio waking up towards the end.
Oh, His Holiness.
guys.
Wow.
His Holiness,
Wow.
yeah.
His Holiness.
I love him.
That's-
He
Me
is
too.
truly a gem.
His Holiness.
Pretty cool dude.
When
I know
was
nothing
this?
about it.
This was in 2009.
When was that?
That was when my
Wow.
theology was really jumping out. My theology major. That was my dunk.
Oh, the
That
mala
BC.
beads must have been like,
Oh,
It
That's-
was a great event.
that's
okay,
so
that's
cool.
cool. I'm gonna look that up. I'm curious.
Some people
didn't
were
know that.
probably not wearing shoes either.
That's different.
Oh, fair.
Oh,
His
really?
divinity alone allows for it.
Stupid. Oh,
okay.
great. Thanks for waking up towards the end of the episode, Fabio. I appreciate it.
I was completely awake the whole time.
He's listening with his ears.
Yeah, underneath his
Ah.
beanie.
Thanks. Cool. I think that's good. And these lovely ladies have stuff to do, not talking to
we've
us.
kept enough of their time.
Thank you.
Wow.
This honestly,
Um,
this was a blast. Thank you for having us, guys.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you guys
on.
for coming on.
And I
Thanks
guess if
for-
you want to do the outro, Ricky, I can start if you want.
Started.
Okay. If you have a Stub Story idea that you want to share with us or even comment on an episode, email us at info@stubstories.net and be sure to follow us.
Yeah, follow us on every social channel, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We're everywhere. Like, subscribe, the good stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Jess and Kassie. And yeah, that's it.
Amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Go Pats. Thanks for coming
Cool.
on.
Bye.
All right. That's it.
That was good. That was great.
Sweet.
StubStories.net. Hi, this is Sylvia.
And I'm Ricky, and we are Stub Stories.
Please follow us everywhere you listen to podcasts.
You can find us on every social media channel. Make sure you're following our YouTube, like, subscribe.
And check out our website, StubStories.net. Special thanks to Live Nation for all the support and sponsoring the episodes.